Samantha had always been close to Emily's family. From the moment she and Emily became friends in high school, their bond grew stronger year after year. Emily's home became her second home, and Mr. Carter, Emily's father, had always been the steady figure in the background. He was polite, dependable, the kind of father who picked up his daughter and her friends after late-night school events without a complaint. Samantha respected him. She trusted him. That night began like any other. Samantha had stopped by Emily's house after work, planning for their usual movie night. The girls spread snacks across the living room floor, laughed about old memories, and shared the kind of secrets best friends could only share with each other. But halfway through the movie, Emily got a call from the hospital where she worked as a nurse. She was needed for an urgent night shift. "I'm so sorry, Sam," Emily said, rushing to grab her bag. "You can stay here if you want, or call a ride." Samantha smiled faintly and nodded. She didn't mind waiting. She figured she would call a cab in a bit, or maybe her brother could come pick her up. Emily hurried out the door, leaving Samantha alone in the familiar living room that suddenly felt less warm without her friend there. Minutes passed. Samantha scrolled through her phone, but the silence around her felt heavier than she expected. Then she heard the sound of footsteps. Mr. Carter entered the room, dressed in a plain t-shirt and jeans, looking surprised to see her still there. "Sam, I thought you went with Emily," he said. "No. She had to rush to work," Samantha explained. "I was just about to order a cab." Mr. Carter frowned slightly, glancing at the clock. It was late, almost 11. The neighborhood outside wasn't dangerous, but it wasn't exactly safe either. He crossed his arms, thinking for a moment, then said something that would stay in Samantha's mind long after that night. "I'm going to make you come with me," he said, holding up his car keys. "It's too late for you to be out there waiting alone. I'll drive you home." The words were simple, protective, but when they left his mouth, they carried an unexpected weight. For a split second, Samantha froze. Something about the way he said it, his tone, his eyes meeting hers made her chest tighten. She quickly shook off the thought. He was just being kind, the way he always had been. Still, her heart skipped in a way she couldn't explain. She hesitated. "Oh, it's fine, really. I don't want to bother you." Mr. Carter gave a small smile, firm but gentle. "Sam, you're like family. You're not bothering me." "Come on, I insist." The way he said it left no room for argument. Samantha nodded slowly, gathering her things. She could feel the tension building inside her chest, though she didn't understand why. This was Emily's father. This was a man she had known for years. Yet, suddenly, every little detail seemed sharper, the calmness in his voice, the quiet authority, the way his presence filled the room. As they stepped outside, the cool night air hit her face. The driveway was dark except for the soft glow of the porch light. She slid into the passenger seat of his car while he started the engine. The radio hummed low in the background, but the silence between them was louder. Samantha stared out the window as the streets rolled by, her thoughts racing faster than the car. She tried to convince herself it was nothing, just a simple ride home. But deep down, she knew something had shifted. She could sense it in the way her pulse raced, in the way she was suddenly too aware of how close they were sitting. Mr. Carter drove calmly, his hands steady on the wheel. After a few minutes, he glanced at her and spoke softly. "Sam, you spend so much time here. Strange seeing you without Emily. Feels like you're part of the family now." She smiled faintly, not sure how to respond. "I guess I have been around a lot over the years." He nodded, eyes still on the road. "It's a good thing. Emily's lucky to have you. You're a good friend." The words were kind, but there was something else beneath them, something she couldn't quite name. She wanted to brush it off, to focus on the passing lights outside. But the air in the car seemed heavier than usual. The drive wasn't long, but every second felt stretched. Samantha's heart wouldn't calm down, and she didn't know why. She had never thought of Mr. Carter in any way other than Emily's father. But tonight, with Emily gone and the quiet surrounding them, she noticed things she hadn't before: the warmth in his voice, the confidence in the way he carried himself, the gentle yet firm way he looked out for her. When they pulled up outside her apartment building, he put the car in park but didn't unlock the doors right away. For a moment, they sat in silence, the low hum of the engine filling the space between them. Samantha turned slightly, meeting his eyes. There it was, again the wait, the pause, the unspoken tension. She couldn't tell if it was real or just her imagination. But she knew one thing. The ride that was supposed to be simple had become something else entirely, as she opened the door to leave. Mr. Carter finally spoke again, his voice softer than before. "Sam, always call me if you need anything, no matter how small. I don't want you waiting alone at night, ever." She nodded quickly, clutching her bag a little tighter. "Thank you, Mr. Carter, I appreciate it." He gave a small smile, but his eyes lingered on her just a second longer than she expected. And in that second, Samantha realized something she wasn't ready to admit, not to him, not to herself. Something had begun between them. It was small, fragile, unspoken. But it was there. As she closed the door and walked up to her apartment, her heart refused to settle. The night that started as an ordinary visit to her best friend's house had turned into something she would never forget. And deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. The night after Mr. Carter drove Samantha home stayed in her mind longer than it should have. She told herself it was just a ride, just a protective father looking after his daughter's friend. But the silence in the car, the way he had spoken to her, and the pause before she left had carved itself into her thoughts. The next week, Samantha found herself back at Emily's house. It was Saturday, and the two friends had planned to spend the day shopping and catching up. They spent the afternoon at the mall, trying on clothes, laughing at old memories, and eating fast food like teenagers again. By the time they returned, the sun was already sinking. Mr. Carter was outside, watering the plants near the porch. He looked up as the girls pulled into the driveway, and Samantha felt that strange, quick rush in her chest again. He greeted them warmly, as always, but when his eyes met hers for a second too long, she had to look away. Inside the house, Emily disappeared upstairs to change, leaving Samantha alone in the kitchen. She poured herself a glass of water, trying to steady her thoughts. That was when she heard his voice behind her. "Long day?" he asked, stepping into the room. She turned quickly, her pulse skipping. "Yeah, pretty long. Emily made me walk through every store in the mall." He chuckled softly, leaning against the counter. "Sounds like her. She's always had too much energy." There was nothing unusual in his words, but the way he spoke them. The quiet warmth in his tone made Samantha uneasy in a way she couldn't explain. She tried to keep her focus on the glass in her hand, but she could feel his presence filling the small space. "You've grown up so much, Sam," he said suddenly, his voice softer now. "I still remember when you two used to run around this house like kids. Now you're both adults." Samantha froze. The compliment wasn't strange on its own, but it carried weight. She felt it in her stomach, like an invisible line had been crossed. Slowly, she looked up, meeting his eyes. He wasn't smiling. His gaze was steady, thoughtful, almost searching. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She quickly looked away, setting the glass down. "I guess time flies," she muttered, trying to sound casual, but inside her heart was racing. She didn't know if she should stay or leave, speak or stay silent. The sound of Emily's footsteps coming down the stairs broke the moment. Mr. Carter straightened quickly, moving to the other side of the room, and by the time Emily entered, the air between them seemed normal again. But for Samantha, nothing felt normal anymore. Later that evening, Emily suggested going out for dinner with some friends. Samantha agreed at first, but when she realized how exhausted she was, she decided to stay back. Emily left quickly, promising she wouldn't be gone too long. That left Samantha alone again in the house with him. She sat in the living room scrolling through her phone, but her concentration was gone. Every sound in the house made her aware of him's footsteps, the creak of the stairs, the hum of the television in the other room. Eventually, Mr. Carter walked in. He wasn't surprised to see her still there. "Emily left you behind?" he asked with a slight smile. "I was too tired," she admitted. He nodded and sat down in the armchair across from her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The television filled the silence with a low hum, but it only made the quiet between them more noticeable than he broke it. Sam, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you really are remarkable. You've stayed grounded all these years. Not many young people are like that. She blinked, caught off guard. Thank you, she said softly. He leaned back, his eyes never leaving her. Emily's lucky to have you. I mean it. The words should have felt casual, but the way he said them made her heart pound. She could feel the tension wrapping around her, pulling her closer to something she shouldn't want. Her mind screamed at her to get up, to excuse herself, to walk away. But her body stayed rooted. She didn't know why she couldn't move. Finally, she whispered, "You've always been kind to me. I've always respected that." Something flickered in his eyes. A pause followed, and in that silence, the truth became clearer to both of them. There was something unspoken, something neither of them had planned, something that had slowly built up in the quiet moments and long glances. They sat there, the weight of their feelings pressing down, but neither daring to cross the line. When the sound of a car pulling into the driveway reached them, Samantha stood quickly, her chest rising and falling with nervous breaths. Emily was back. Relief and disappointment hit her at the same time. Mr. Carter gave her a quiet nod, his face unreadable now. Samantha forced a smile, trying to steady herself before Emily entered the room. But deep down, she knew the truth. What she felt wasn't her imagination. Something had changed. And now, every time she looked at him, she wouldn't be able to ignore it. The ride home last week was only the beginning. Tonight had confirmed it, and she had no idea where it was going to lead. The days after, that quiet moment in the kitchen weighed heavily on Samantha. She tried to push the feelings away, but they refused to leave her. Every time she closed her eyes at night, she saw the look in Mr. Carter's eyes. It wasn't just a fatherly concern anymore. It was deeper, sharper, and impossible to ignore. Whenever she visited Emily, she caught herself becoming too aware of everything. The way Mr. Carter's voice sounded when he greeted her. The way his eyes seemed to find hers even in a crowded room. The way her pulse quickened at the smallest brush of his presence. It was dangerous, it was wrong, and yet she couldn't turn away from it. The tension grew stronger with every passing week. Samantha told herself she was imagining things, that he probably didn't feel the same, but then there would be a glance, a pause, a silence that said otherwise. Those silences spoke louder than words. One evening, Emily invited her over again. They had planned to study together for an upcoming course exam. But as soon as Samantha arrived, Emily was called into work for an emergency shift. It wasn't unusual for her schedule to change suddenly, but for Samantha, it meant being left alone once more in the house she now feared and longed for at the same time she thought about leaving right away. But Mr. Carter walked into the hallway before she could grab her coat. "Sam," he said softly, "you don't have to rush out. Stay for a while. Emily will be back later." She hesitated, her heart already racing. She should have said no. She should have walked out. But instead, she found herself nodding. They ended up in the kitchen, the same place where the air had once turned heavy between them. Samantha poured herself some water, her hands trembling slightly as she held the glass. Mr. Carter moved past her to grab something from the counter. And for the briefest moment, his hand brushed against hers. It was nothing. Just skin against skin. But it sent a shiver through her, one she couldn't hide. She looked up quickly, and his eyes were already on her. The silence stretched, and she felt her chest tighten with emotions she didn't want to admit. Neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. The truth was there in their eyes, in the way they stood too close, in the way their breaths seemed to fall in sync. Samantha's thoughts spun wildly. She thought of Emily, of the years of friendship, of the line she was about to cross. Guilt burned in her, but so did something else, something stronger. Something she couldn't silence anymore. Finally, Mr. Carter broke the moment, his voice quiet, almost trembling. "Sam, this isn't right." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She should have agreed. She should have said it was wrong and walked away. But instead, she whispered, "I know." It was all they could say. No promises, no actions, just a confession that the bond between them existed, whether they wanted it or not. That night, Samantha left earlier than usual. She walked home under the cold evening sky, her heart heavy and restless. She couldn't escape the truth anymore. There was something between them. And pretending otherwise was no longer possible. Over the next few weeks, the weight of silence grew unbearable. Samantha found herself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long she could carry this secret. She thought about telling Emily, but the thought of destroying her best friend's trust tore her apart. She thought about avoiding the Carters' house entirely, but that felt impossible too. Emily's friendship was part of her life. And so was the house where this secret now lived. Every visit felt like walking into fire. Mr. Carter would pass her in the hallway, and their eyes would lock for a second too long. At family dinners, he would ask her polite questions, but his voice carried an undertone. Only she seemed to notice. The smallest things, his hand reaching across the table. His quiet laughter were enough to stir emotions she couldn't control. The burden pressed harder each day. And Samantha felt herself splitting in two. To Emily, she was the loyal best friend, the girl who had been by her side for years. But underneath, she was hiding something dangerous, something fragile, something she couldn't confess. One evening, as she stood in Emily's kitchen again, pouring water to calm her restless thoughts, Mr. Carter entered the room. This time, neither of them tried to hide it. Their hands brushed again, and this time he didn't pull away immediately. The look in his eyes told her everything. It was longing, guilt, and an unspoken question all at once. Samantha felt her throat tighten as her heart pounded. "Sam," he whispered, his voice low and unsteady, "we can't." "But I don't know how to stop feeling this way." Her chest ached. She wanted to deny it, to push it all away, but her voice betrayed her. "Me too," she whispered. The confession hung between them, heavy and undeniable. No one else would ever know what passed in that moment, two people bound by silence. Caught between loyalty and desire, standing on the edge of something they couldn't step away from. That night, Samantha walked home with tears in her eyes. Not because she regretted what she felt, but because she knew the path ahead was full of heartbreak. No matter what choice she made, someone she loved would be hurt. The weight of silence was now too heavy to carry. But the fear of speaking the truth was even greater and deep inside. Samantha knew this was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning of a secret that could never stay hidden forever.